Thank you, Lance, and good morning to you all. Thank you so much for joining us. We're looking forward to a really lively discussion amongst our wonderful, successful, and diverse group of alumni that we've assembled today. We've got folks from 1971. Hello, Ken. We've got folks from the class of 2017. Zoom has allowed us to enjoy our alums from across the country and beyond. We've got two far-flung panelists from the UK and Serbia. Good morning, Karnika and Elana. So I encourage you all to read their bios on the website, and if you have them in hand, I could take an hour with every one of these panelists. They're all so interesting, but we don't have that time today. So needless to say, we're honored to have them here and for them to share their success stories, talk about their time at Waldorf, their journey beyond. I'll be your moderator today, as Lance has said. In case we haven't met, I know a lot of you on this call, but I'm Anne Murray, a proud member of the class of 1985. I attended the Waldorf School after a stint at public school from 7th grade to 12th grade. And if you're doing math, that was 1979 to 1985, but I won't make you do that math, have your coffee. But a little too much about me. Let's take a few minutes first to talk to each one of our panelists and have them introduce themselves, tell us your year of Waldorf graduation, tell me the grades that you're at Waldorf so we get some context, and tell me what you're doing now. Take 30 seconds each. I'm gonna start. My first victim is Amir. How you doing, Amir?
Hi, I'm Amir Diaf. I'm a fine artist, and I went to Waldorf. I'm from the graduating class of 2017, but I went to Waldorf from 2010 to 2015.
How about you, Rachel?
Hi, guys. I graduated in 2001. I had to think about that. I am a lifer, and I'm a filmmaker. I'm a television and film director and writer.
Excellent. How about you, Karnika?
Hi, I'm Karnika Kisnadwala. I graduated in 2012, and I went to Waldorf for nursery school, and then from 8th through 12th. And now I'm the founder and CEO of an e-commerce platform called Kunj.
Awesome. How about you, Judge Mejias? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Linda Mejias, now Glover, and I am class of 1997, and I attended Waldorf from 9th through 12th grade. You can do the math accordingly for the years. I am presently a sitting judge in the New York State Court of Claims, and my chambers is in Manhattan at 26 Broadway.
Terrific, thank you. So I might as well send it over to your new husband, Dorian Glover. Congratulations, by the way, on your nuptials, in case I haven't told you before that. So Dorian, take it away.
Good morning, family. I'm Dorian Glover, class of the greatest class ever, the class of 1984.
Easy.
I'm an attorney and counselor at law, and I look forward to engaging with you today.
Terrific. How about you, Ken?
I entered the Waldorf School in 4th grade, graduated in 1971. I can't even do the math. But my mother was the French teacher at the lower school, and my daughter has graduated from Waldorf in 06 or 09. Anyway, 09. And now my grandson is in the early childhood program. So we're not lifers, but
close enough.
Close enough. We're covering the generations.
And Ken, you're in sales.
Yes, I own my own company. We distribute laboratory supplies and equipment.
Thank you. Okay, let's turn it over to Sim.
Hi, Sim, or I think Simran. I forgot what I went as in high school, but I was a class of 2007 where I attended from 8th to 12th grade. I'm currently working at Facebook, where I'm supporting all of Facebook's family of apps, so Instagram, WhatsApp, Oculus, and Facebook, around partnerships and business development with the focus on creative technology.
Thank you, Sim. Or do you mind if I call you Sim?
Sim, yeah, Sim is better now, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, how about Elana? Where do I have my friend from Serbia?
Good morning, everybody. Also class of '07, second best class, I guess, graduating class. I am currently out of Belgrade, Serbia, and I am owner and communication consultant for Quadruple Threat Consulting. So.
Terrific. And tell us the grades that you attended Waldorf.
And the grades that I attended, I had one job to do and I forgot my line. Attended Waldorf from 8th grade to 12th grade, so 5 years.
Excellent. Okay, similar to me. So thank you for that. So Danielle, let's hear from you.
Good morning. I'm Danielle Gill. I graduated in 2005 and I attended from 2nd grade through 12th grade. And I'm currently in tech consulting, working for Tata Consultant Services.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Blumenthal, Josh Blumenthal.
Morning, everybody. Josh, well, you already said it. Josh Blumenthal, class of '99. I would say that we were the best class, but for many years, Linda would tell me that her class was better every day. So I guess I'm second fill. I attended, just like Ann, I did public school 1st to 6th and then 7th through 12th at Waldorf. And then presently, my family and I just moved to Wisconsin via Austin, Texas, where I am the director of athletics at a private high school named Wayland Academy.
Excellent, thank you. So let me roll into our first question. I know we have a lot to cover today, and my first victim is going to be Rachel. Where is my Rachel? There she is. Okay, well, because you are a lifer, it places you on a very esteemed level on this panel. So I'm going to make you my first victim. But you're in the film and TV industry. Tell us how, if at all, your Waldorf education sets you apart from your counterparts in your industry.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the biggest thing is that I didn't grow up watching television and film. And so I am bringing my true creative spirit to every project. I think I start every job interview with Waldorf just to explain that to people. My job requires me to see stories as pictures. And a lot of people in the industry have references that they can pull to emulate whatever is on the script. And I don't have that. And I used to think it was something that was going to keep me out of the industry, but it's actually something that makes me stand out.
Excellent. You were essentially a blank canvas, and you had all your creative ideas to spring from. That's terrific. How about you, Josh? You're in the world of athletics. What about Waldorf separated you from your counterparts?
Well, first off, just like Rachel said, Waldorf is such a great talking point because people know of it. They all think it's Montessori, so I have to dispel that. But it's a good talking point nonetheless. They think it's Montessori or a cult, and I have to explain that it's neither. But for me, a lot of private schools that I've worked at, and even that I see their marketing, they say they have this holistic approach, but I think Waldorf really talks the talk and walks the walk. So when I look in athletics, which can be very stressful and tough, especially with parents, I really take a step back and look at the holistic approach, just like I would, not to be funny, but doing the nature trail with Mr. Weschler. You have to take a holistic approach and really look at what you're doing. And I bring that into my everyday life here.
I love that you're spreading the word at Wayland as well. It's not a Waldorf school, but you can apply some of the things that you learned at Waldorf in your current space. It's terrific. Ken, let me flip over to you. You've crushed it in the world of sales. You've gotten accolades at all of your companies. I think you secured the single biggest contract at Fisher Scientific. I read that in your bio. I thought that was really interesting. And now you started your own company in lab equipment sales. Tell us, coming from such a Waldorf family, tell us about your Waldorf education and how it sets you apart from your counterparts.
Well, I think that Waldorf helped me ask a lot of questions. When I went to college, I noticed that people would always come up to me and say, why do you ask so many questions? So I think asking questions, you're going to get answers, hopefully the right ones, but you gain knowledge, better knowledge that way. I think it also helped me have a better human connection compared to my fellow classmates in school, in college specifically, I meant. But yeah, it's, I think when you are able to relate to a person one-on-one, which is, by the way, why I'm not crazy about Zoom, but it is what it is today, unfortunately. But yeah, so I think that the human connection that Waldorf education helped me develop really helped me in my success as a sales representative and now the owner of my own company.
You know, I find in the legal industry, there's nothing that replaces human connection. You know, clients want that. They don't just want emails. They don't just want texts. They want that face-to-face human connection. They want you to, I mean, it's tough now to shake hands, but we all grew up shaking our teachers' hands when we said hello in the morning. So it's all part of that, isn't it? It's great. Absolutely. So let me shift to Danielle. Danielle, you are in the Accelerated Leadership Program at Tata. Did I pronounce that right, Tata?
Yes.
And that's a selective program because it really, it pulls from the ranks and it isolates the future leaders and it nurtures them. And, you know, you're in this program, good for you. How did Waldorf, do you think, you know, with all your time spent at Waldorf, you had quite a run yourself. How did that differentiate you from your counterparts in the world of consulting world?
Yeah, I think there are many different areas, but I think one place where I've really felt it has been just in professional meetings, in public speaking. I think because we were required to participate so much in our classes because they were participation based, and we had to kind of, rather than studying and then kind of spitting out what we studied, we had to kind of think on our feet. And as soon as we learned something new, immediately kind of talk about it. That's really transferable to the professional space where you're constantly put on the spot in a meeting and asked to talk about something that you might not even know that much about, but need to come up with kind of a decision or something intelligent so that you can kind of take things to the next step. So I think that would be kind of the top skill that I feel like Waldorf gave me.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly remember our roundtables with Ms. Cariciolo in English class and being graded on that level of participation. It's so important to be able to communicate. And it's an overlooked talent, let's say. I want to shift some gears. We have a world that's rapidly changing. We've got trends that come up every day. We've got new TikTok dances. We've got new ways to make a French omelet. We've got new ways to attract clients. We've got new ways to advertise. So I want to talk to some of the alumni about what they do with trends and how they keep on top of them. What are their strategies in staying, you know, ahead of the pack to differentiate yourself from other members in your industry. And I want to speak to Karnika because Karnika has an interesting story real fast. She was working with a company that closed up shop during the pandemic, and Karnika saw a void in the fashion industry. And she did something about it. So Karnika, tell us your story. Tell us how you filled that niche and what keeps you ahead of the pack. Oh, you're muted.
Hi, sorry. So I think Waldorf really helped me with that because there was a teacher, Mr. Katzman, who pushed me and taught me about fashion. He took me to Mood for the first time in 8th grade. And that's how I went into the fashion industry, basically. He was a really big influence in that area. But obviously I lost my job right before the pandemic. Everything went down under. It was really bad here in the UK. And obviously people didn't really care about shopping and the luxury business. So in the pandemic, a lot of artisans and small designers were contacting my mother and I to buy their products because they were really, really struggling. They were willing to even just send it to us without us paying because that's how much they wanted to get their stock. Like they wanted to get rid of it. So we realized that there was a void in the market, that there wasn't a platform that really supported the smaller artisans and the designers because they obviously don't have the infrastructure to make a website or have a marketing plan or any social media because they're from like the smaller villages and cities in India. So we decided to create a platform where we can empower them and we can make them shine. As much as it's under our brand, they are the soul of our brand. So we market them we are them. We created a portal in the back where they can themselves upload all their products. So we're empowering them to learn about technology. So that's how we really came about Kunj. And it's been a few months, but we're doing really well. And I have to say, Waldorf really did inspire me with a lot of the values that we've kept in Kunj. We give back, we support NGOs, we give a percentage of our profits to them. And we're also a very sustainable brand, which is something we obviously learned at Waldorf. So
Excellent.
I've always kept these values there.
Excellent. And I guess busting the dress code, what was it, in 8th grade, really paid off for you.
Yeah, Mrs. White used to let me get away with a lot of leggings that I wasn't allowed to wear.
Absolutely. So let me talk to my star lacrosse athlete. First of all, Josh, thank you for your service in helping us have some amazing wins in the 90s. So thank you for that. You're now athletic director. So being an athlete, you know a thing or two about competition. So what do you do to stand out amongst your peers?
Well, first off, I wouldn't say lacrosse star. I kept the left side of the bench extremely warm. So, you know, had it not been for 10 guys on a lacrosse team, I may not have played. But I'm actually going to tell you, I'm going to give you 2 short answers there, Ann. And to the students listening, I hope that this will give you a chuckle because it's a very true story. But first of all, Waldorf by nature, and I don't mean that as a pun, allows you to think outside the box. You know, what works for one student doesn't necessarily work for another student, and your end goal is to make a border for a main lesson book. Well, the way that one person does it may be very different than another person does it. So I'm giving that example, but I want to share something that Mr. Rothenbucher did back in the day, and I can say that now that I'm older. Back in the day, we were doing an assembly. He won't remember this, but we were doing an assembly, you know, not a high school, you know, a major assembly, and we were doing something with the drama club, and he would call out something, the lights would go out, and we would have to, in the dark, have to make a structure. So he would, you know, the skyline of New York City or whatever it was. And we were like, you know, all done with it. We were ready to go. It was the Thursday before the Friday assembly. And he turns to us, he goes, by the way, I'm going to throw some ones in there that you're not expecting too. I'm like, we just rehearsed it. We had it down pat. He goes, yeah, but I want to keep it exciting. And he did that. And I only mildly screwed it up. So, but it's just to the point though, that he, you know, that one little thing, you know, he's preparing, always be on your toes. And so that's what I've learned from Waldorf. So how to stay involved in the trends, use what's out there, but also when the internet goes down, everyone freaks out. But me at Waldorf, I didn't have computers. So it's just like a regular day. So again,
No
just
problem.
thinking outside the box.
Thank you, Josh. And thank you for the little walk down memory lane. I'm sure Roland appreciated that. Ilana, let me flip it over to you. You told me when we connected this week that your career found you. I think I put that in quotes in my notes. And tell us about your approach to trends or not approach, and give us some insights about what you do to stay apart from your competitors.
Oh man, okay, such a heavy loaded question, but here goes nothing.
I know. There you go.
I would say, as we talked about, for me, it's definitely been less about following existing trends, right? And I might get some flack for this, but it's been more about stepping away from that buzz in order to brand my services, right? And to stand out better. And the outliers, we tend to forget about them because there are other more mainstream, louder, you know, buzz and trends. Those outliers actually hold a lot of potential. And the question that I always ask is, are you noticing them? And moreover, are you brave enough to tap into it, right? The potential of that. So ultimately, to answer your question, ultimately, the way I do this is tied to my 3, we'll call it unique selling points or learnings, what have you. Number 1 has been supply and demand for me, okay? I offer my communications consulting services to companies that operate in Serbia, and unlike more Western European employees, okay, many Serbian employees, although they're experts in their trades and in their crafts, they lack the exposure to their English-speaking counterparts, whether it be vendors, suppliers, and users. So whether it's in interviewing candidates for a job position or drafting up a contract and a proposal, or for a partner and a supplier, or whether it's presenting capabilities to, you know, investors and shareholders, or even something as simple as sending a cold pitch to a potential client, I've taken advantage, right, of this opportunity to bridge that cultural linguistic gap, we can call it, within the business context, and to leverage my skills to help them sharpen their communication best practices. Number two for me has been client service orientation. Okay. A lot of the other corporations with whom I've worked over the years were only interested, as you can imagine, in churning in profits and, of course, standardizing their services, right? So this was an opportunity for me to identify a vacant space, if we can call it that, for quality, and keeping it more of a boutique size firm, if you will, right? So not really worrying about the size as much of the scope and scale and quality. And ultimately creating personalized touches and identifying each client's business objectives and learning needs. And number three, voila, word of mouth and what I like to call the slow and steady wins the race, okay? So with my colleagues, those who have been in the same industry as me, I tend to notice that they were busy blowing up social media feeds and, self-marketing themselves in the hopes of building their client portfolio as quickly as possible, okay? But not necessarily focusing on the quality of that. So I chose to rely on word of mouth, and I slowly built up that clientele. And keep in mind one thing, here's the bottom line, right? It's very, very easy to get and to lose a client, right? That can take a second, but it's even harder and it can take even longer to get and keep a client. That can take years. And so essentially, I've opted for the long term, if we can call it that, by retaining a few great clients, right, over the years for a longer period of time with the goal of developing a consistent, impressionable, and more reliable brand that I offered my clients.
Well, certainly, I mean, look, those are great pieces of advice. Certainly those of us in the legal industry and in sales, Ken, I'm looking at you. We talk about the slow and steady, because that's where client loyalty comes in. So thank you so much, Elana. Let's pivot to success. I have a next question about how our panelists define success. And they're all looking at me like, oh, who's my next victim? But success comes in different shapes and sizes. It doesn't necessarily get measured in dollars and cents. It can be a matter of making a difference to a mentee. It can be having impact in your company. It can be nurturing a fledgling business. I'm looking at you, Sim. It can be, any number of ways in which success can be found. And so I'm interested from our diverse panel here, and I'm going to start with you, Sim. You've worked at a startup, pre-IPO to post-IPO. Now you're at Facebook, partnering with startups and fledgling businesses. Tell us how you see success.
Yeah, this is something I think an old manager used to tell me at Facebook. A mentor of mine is that, and this can be different for everyone, but it's the ratio of impact made to what gives me energy, right? Work isn't something where every task is going to be perfect and uplifting, but you strive to have that good ratio of impact to energy, limiting work that drains you as much as possible. So I've always defined success that way. And over the years, this has evolved, but I've always been someone that likes to build and mess with things. I may have not realized it when I was at Waldorf, but now looking back on it, I feel like that's always been in my DNA. So now I get to do it with startups. So when I help them grow, their success is my success. When they innovate from guidance from me, when they change a business model, when they raise a round of funding or add new jobs, or when they create a business resilient solution to withstand tough market times, I can say my guidance led to that. So I've always felt, it's a ratio. And then the other thing is I do think of success that it should be a jumping off point on what's next. So even in my current role, I'm still in the learning phase. I get to work with so many of these C-levels, but I also think I've gotten so many traits and habits from them that I've just cherry picked to the point that I'm kind of influencing the type of C-level I want to be. Because in a few years, I do have aspirations to go back to the market and probably lead a startup to be public. So I think the ratio is very important, and using success as a jumping off point to what's next.
I love your 80-20 ratio, and I'll forgive you for making me do math this early in the morning. How about you, Amir? You found art. You're a class of 2017. You found art during the pandemic, in periods of grief, during times of protest. Tell us about how you view success in that world.
So with art, I do view success in a way of goals. And when I set a goal for myself, I want to tackle that one specific goal and then have other goals lined up beyond that. And having those other goals lined up beyond that is always so you have a visual of what you see and what you want to have be your goal, and reach your goal. I didn't do all my time at Waldorf, but the main thing that I really learned at Waldorf was setting goals for myself. I grew up with dyslexia, so Waldorf really helped me with that and making sure that I put these goals in front of myself so I can tackle these goals in the future and make something of myself.
Excellent. How about you, Judge? I'd like to hear from you. You have found success and a number of firsts in the legal community. Share with us what your take on success is.
So success, I think to a Waldorfian, or a Waldorf, as my brother would call me, is very different than it is to, I think, most people. I measure success not just by, like you said, dollars and cents, and as far as power or authority or, higher ranks, but rather in a more holistic type of way. For me, success is, doing whatever I'm doing. And Waldorf gave me that courage to explore other interests, etc. Whatever I'm doing, to do with the best of my ability, and to be joyful in what I'm doing and grateful for what I'm doing. And so, the success comes from getting knocked down and maybe not doing it right the first time, but persevering on. And I know you've all probably heard that is success isn't measured by necessarily what your achievements are, but rather how many times you get knocked down and get back up again.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I have been very blessed to have achieved success by the world standards in my particular profession fairly young. I was the first Latina elected to a countywide position in Nassau County. I am the youngest person sitting right now in the New York State Court of Claims. And not the first Latina, I will say. I'm very proud to say that there are 3 Latinas sitting in New York City out of the 3 positions that are open. So that is pretty awesome. But Waldorf empowered me so much to feel like I could express myself at the table, be informed and express myself and give my opinion, and that my voice matters regardless of my age or my gender or my ethnicity. And, I see that the curriculum at Waldorf is incredible, but when I was there, there wasn't as much as far as diversity in the curriculum. And so I was empowered to talk about Latinos and talk about our culture and our heritage. So I just thank Waldorf for being so encouraging as far as like vocalizing, who I am and what my opinions are.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm gonna turn it over to your husband. Your better half just gave us some insight. Now time for you, Dorian.
Well, I would like to adopt what what Amir and Judge Mejias Glover, have already stated as my own, and just add that for me, success is not vested in the titles that I've achieved. As president of the Nassau County Bar Association, the second African-American president in 117 years, becoming Grand Master of the Masons for the state of New York, becoming chair of the Appellate Division Grievance Committee for Nassau and Suffolk County, having my elementary school street named after me, Dorian R. Glover Way. Success is not there. Success lies for me in service. And I think that, looking at our classes, looking at the pictures, I really want you to know that you have to trust the process of Waldorf. As president of the Bar Association last year, it was during, obviously, the pandemic. And all of us, by me saying just a few words, I look into the world in which the sun is shining. We all have that understanding, and it means something unique to all of us, but it's common to all of us. What was key for me is during the pandemic, while other people were not looking into the world in which the sun was shining, I still had the ability to do so. And my ability to do so, I was able to share that with others and to express it so that they too could see the light that shined within all of us. And so if you trust the process of Waldorf, it will take you to the next level. And it's easy to say as a graduate, but I want you to adopt it, because all of the superstars that you see on the screen have trusted the process, have gone into different rooms. There are only 19 students in my graduating class. So therefore, we didn't carry people with us. We were unique in each area that we went. And we had a voice everywhere we went. And I want to say something else before I yield. And that is, my wife mentioned, you have to make sure you get up. So to the juniors, when you have your junior poem, I forgot my junior poem on that day. Anne Murray was there. I forgot my junior poem. And it was like, and they were like, well, have a seat. And I'm like, this is so humiliating.
Oh, God.
And I sat down and I thought about it. And I got back up after the senior gave his speech or her speech. And I gave my junior poem and completed that action. Now I'm a speaker, on an international stage. But I always remember there was that moment when I forgot what I was going to say, but I was able to get back up and complete it. And you learn at Waldorf. That's what it's there for. And plus you clean up the place. It makes you humble. There's so much in your experience that you have to adopt and to enjoy every aspect, because take it from me, it goes very, very quickly.
Yep. Bravo, Dorian, for getting yourself up and remembering that poem. Do you remember which poem it was? What was the poem?
Something about stars.
Okay. Well, you're a star in my mind. Let me switch gears here. And this is what I call the lightning round, because I'm looking at our time here. We have about 8 minutes for this segment before we wrap up. And I'm gonna ask, hopefully most of you, to give me a few words. If you were to give one piece of advice to our juniors and seniors watching this morning, what would it be? And I'm going to start with you, Ken.
Yeah, the one thing that I've been listening to, and I have to wholeheartedly agree, because Amir mentioned having goals. And if you have a goal that you set, and it could be a goal a day, or it could be a goal that spans a year, no matter what, but you should have a goal. So I think if you have a goal and you strive to reach that goal, you will have success. And the other thing I'd like to mention, Judge, is that we were known as walnuts.
I like that better.
Thank you, Ken. How about you, Sim?
Yeah, I guess what I would say is stay curious and try to build a POV on the industry or group of companies you really want to be in. It's something that someone told me when I was looking at very competitive companies. Don't just have something you read just before the interview, but try to build that point of view. And healthy debates and information is going around every tech ecosystem, including Facebook, as you know. But just having a POV will naturally push you through the interviews. It'll give you more information to build on. And then the last one is, a lot of people reach out to me from time to time on how do you get a job at Facebook or one of my older companies like Roku. And, I tell them that, it may not always work out for a variety of reasons, but there's not only one path forward. You can try to get into your company, or you could try to get into a company around that company, like a partner, for example, like the partners I work with, and you can still find your way into that ecosystem. So I would definitely keep your options open and never give up.
Thank you, Sim. And for those of you, POV means?
Point of view.
Thank you. Danielle, tell us what your piece of advice would be to our 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And I'm sorry, 9th and 10th, I didn't include you in my remarks before. Go ahead, Danielle.
So my advice would be to continuously reflect and evolve. So I'm someone who is kind of very goal oriented and feel like I have to go in this direction and get there immediately. But I found that what has made my career enjoyable for me is that I kind of stepped away from that. And in every role that I've been in, I've just kind of reflected, inwardly thought, what do I like? What do I not like? Where do I want to go next? And even making a lot of small shifts initially and a big pivot recently, I feel like I've still stayed on a good path, and that's kept me a lot happier about my career and enjoying the work that I do.
How about you, Rachel? Let's hear from you.
Hi, my advice is to remember to play. That's what I have to remember every day at my job. People get really serious when they're on set because movies feel like we're doing surgery, but we're not. We're playing. And so I feel like I revert back to, when I'm really in it, I revert back to the worlds that I would find in the trees during recess. And yeah, so just remember to play. And find someone famous. That's important.
Find someone famous, did you say?
Yes.
Got it. Find someone famous to do what? I have to ask.
To connect with. I mean, it's an industry that's locked, and it keeps marginalized people out. And so I think the goal, my biggest advice, if you want to get into Hollywood, is to find someone famous and or someone connected to someone famous. I'm mostly here just to say hi and say if anyone wants to work in the industry that they can email me.
Terrific. You hear that, kids? Okay, well, thank you so much, Rachel. How about you, Amir? Let's hear from you. What's your piece of advice?
Well, my piece of advice is whatever goal or whatever job that you want to have in the future, put 110% effort into it. As long as you continue to work towards it and keep moving towards it and putting 100% of your effort into it, you're always going to succeed.
And I have to ask you, did you do that beautiful piece, or someone within your collective?
No, this is actually my piece right here. And real quick, I would like to show you my main lesson book from 7th grade.
That is terrific. And you can see the influence even back in 7th grade, Amir.
Exactly.
I hear you. Okay. How about Karnika? Do you have any advice for our students?
So I would really look for something that you really love, and don't do something just because you're influenced, like become a banker or like lawyer. Do something that you're happy about, something that you're really passionate about. It might not fit into the typical norms in the workplace, but be happy in what you do, because you will succeed if you're passionate about it.
And Elana, when we chatted yesterday, real quick, you had said something about, at the end of the day, what would your piece of advice be? If you're looking at yourself in the mirror.
Oh man. So the biggest piece of advice would be to be 100%, not even 100, probably 1,000% aligned with yourself, right? Because essentially the irony of success is that although standing out amongst the competition requires you to not only be aware of at all times, right, but to constantly benchmark yourself against the competition, success is at the same time being aligned with you, yourself, and you, right? And if you don't have that to begin with, then everything else is lost. And once you can grasp that, the more you can focus on your own development. And I believe it was Churchill who said, and this is a maxim that applies here especially, is that when you're 20, you care what everybody thinks, right? When you're 40, you stop caring what everybody thinks. And when you're 60, you realize nobody was thinking about you to begin with, right? So it means understanding essentially that you yourself and you are your biggest support, right? You're your biggest ally, enemy, competition, and everyone around you is fighting their own battles, right? They're setting their own records, their own goals, setting their own pace, and you have to be your own sounding board, essentially. So that would be the advice that I would give. You yourself are your own sounding board. Don't worry what everybody else is doing. You come back to yourself at the end of the day. You are the person who sets the goals, sets the objectives for you, follow that, and you'll be just fine.
Thank you. You know, I say that to the associates in my firm. Don't look to the left or right. Just look within and make sure you're okay with yourself, right? So listen, I could speak to all of you guys all day, and I wish I could, and I wish we could continue this at some local bar, but we can't, and it is only 9:45.
Not over here, but.
So I want to thank you all for your insight, for your excellent responses. I hope students, you heard something that you can take with you. Let me flip it over to Mr. Rothenbucher and take it from there, and then we will take some questions from our other participants.
Thank you, Anne. Just one brief comment. With the exception of one panelist, I have known all of you since high school. And what is so humbling is seeing how you've all unlocked the potential that was within you already in high school. And what an unbelievable privilege it is to know young people before all of their talents and capacities come to fruition, and who knows what direction they'll go in. So it's just a great reminder for me, and I'm sure all the teachers, to stay as open as possible to whoever is in front of us and nurture the amazing talents of our students as they show themselves. So, because you never know what direction they'll go in. And I love the idea of play, Rachel, just stay playful. You all look so happy and are vital in this world. You look like you're enjoying your life, so continue doing so. I have one brief announcement, and that is the snack period will now begin for all the students, and the 11th and 12th grade will come back for some breakout sessions with the panelists. 9th and 10th grade will continue with the school day. So again, enjoy the break, and we'll see you in 15. Everyone else is staying on for a Q&A. So the students are dismissed at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rothenbucher.
I'd like a snack break.
I'd like a snack break as well. What are we having? So we'll just
the
let
usual.
Yeah.
There are some things that haven't changed.
Yeah, that's right. Danielle, didn't your mom handle some of the snacks?
Yeah, I think she probably is right now.
Yeah.
Well, I want to join Elana for a snack because I can have that kind of snack now, but I'm not quite sure what I heard Elana say about being over 60.
Well, you know, I have a few decades to go, but it's definitely 5 o'clock somewhere in the world, and it's nearing that over in my end of the world. So that's for sure.
And by the way, she attributed it to Churchill, so you can be mad at him, I guess.
Absolutely. You know, he's rolling around in his grave to be criticized for that.
So Sam, do we have any questions from our participants?
Yeah, so at this point, if there are any participants that have any questions, if you want to raise your little Zoom hand, or if you want to turn your camera on, raise your hand. We have about 10 minutes and we can take questions from our participants that the panel will be open to answering. I'm just waiting to see if any hands pop up. So please feel free.
I see that we have 35 participants. And so I know that we are only, oh gosh, what are we, 11 on our panel. So.
And also, if you want to put your question in the chat too, that could also work. So please feel free, utilize our alums. They're here to answer your questions.
If nobody asks a question, Samantha, I'd love to pose a question to Roland, if that's okay.
Sure.
Go ahead, Josh, kick it off.
Put you on the hot seat here. Love to hear just kind of a state of the high school. What's going on? What's new? What's going on over there in Cambridge Avenue?
Just briefly, we've been able to navigate COVID times pretty well. We do have currently 3 students who are quarantined because of exposure. but everyone else is in school. And over the course of the whole pandemic, I think we have morphed our program. For example, we built 2 gazebos out in back of the high school, and they're outdoor classrooms. We have been having our morning assemblies out back. So everyone's on the, if you can visualize this, as you come out the back of the high school, there's a bit of a hill just to the left. So it's almost like a natural amphitheater, and the students sit there, and we present from the bottom of a gazebo, from the gazebo out toward that way. So it's really been awesome to incorporate more outdoor time. Every lunch period is taken outside at this point, and some kids had lunch all year long outside, so the cafeteria is cleared out at lunchtime. Everyone's outside. So we've kind of taken Glenbrook and brought it to Garden City as a result of COVID in many ways. So that's one little window into what's different.
It's really amazing. And I think a testament to the school has been how nimble you guys were last year in embracing outdoor play, outdoor classes, to keep it as safe as possible and to increase the number of days that kids could physically be in the school. I mean, that you can't put a price tag on that, how valuable that was for kids last year, because so many lost so much not being able to physically see their teachers and be in school.
So we do have one question from a parent and employee. Bianca, go ahead.
Hi. Thanks, Sam. Well, first, I just want to say thank you to all of you, because anytime that I've been to this event or any where the alums are present, I'm just so grateful that my children are going to this amazing school. It makes me just so excited for their future. On that note, as a parent, what do you feel your parents did that supported you best through your Waldorf career? How do you feel like their presence or help, or what can a parent do to make you feel like you're most successful during your Waldorf years?
Well, I would like to invite my actual mother, who would love to answer that question.
Oh no, I won't answer the question.
I will answer the question in front of her.
I won't. Hi,
so,
Mom.
I won't answer the question.
I will answer the question for you. All right. So I believe that, going to Waldorf and you putting me in Waldorf at that time was so beneficial for my career in the future, to where I use a lot of the aspects from the time I was going to Waldorf through the main lesson books, and using the text that was written on the side, and then also the picture that you would put in the front cover, and basically mixing it together and making my own artwork. I feel like a lot of the things that we've learned in Waldorf, and I say we because my mom is also an alum herself, so we've learned in Waldorf, really set us for the future.
Mm-hmm. Ken, your mom was our beloved French teacher for so many years. I mean, she was clearly supporting you in your journey at Waldorf.
Yeah, I guess that was a kind of forced upon me, more or less.
You said it, not me.
I can't see that. I can't see that little lady forcing anything.
My mother as a teacher, because I don't know what it's like in high school today, but as a young male adult, I was always told to grow up. And it's funny, but I still feel like I need to grow up, because I still kid around with people. So yeah, but as a parent of a Waldorf student, both my wife and I felt that it was very important that, and you know your children as they're growing up, and you see what they need, or you think you know what they need. And Waldorf for us was the perfect answer for Julie, who, by the way, was a panelist last year.
She was. She was. Tell her I say hello.
I will. I think it was extremely beneficial for her. And it was beneficial for me as well. And it got me to appreciate the Waldorf education. I mean, there are a lot of people who are going to say, oh, you know, it's nonsense. But it's really not, because it really helped me develop a human connection. And I can't stress that enough, that in my career, I learned to appreciate what people were doing for me. And maybe this is what Rachel is alluding to, that find somebody famous. It doesn't have to be somebody who's famous, although it doesn't hurt. But find somebody who can help you, and then tell them that you appreciate them, because that will go a long way to furthering your career. Kind of an answer to about being a parent. So
I would just add to that, Ken, I think you're all famous, and I just met you all. So I think, you know, you're just all in my wheelhouse now. But Bianca, I will answer that question a little differently. So my son, our son, excuse me, is 7 and was in Waldorf last year in Austin, Texas. So I'm speaking as alum and as a parent, and I'll give you the answer. Instead of what my parents did to what I did, was I've been doing something since he was in, you know, daycare. My wife is very much, you know, she wants to know the grades and she wants to know this, and is he making progress? And yeah, and I come in and I do something very differently. And this is what Waldorf is perfect about, is I always say the same thing to the teacher. Can you please tell me 3 words that describe my son? And now will be my daughter when she goes to school. And not every school can do that, you know, and Waldorf can really, not only, it's not just one word, it's a word, but explain things to me. And so my wife and I thankfully balance each other out in that way. But I think if you ask any Waldorf teacher, could you give me a word or 2 about my child, they're going to give you the word and then they're going to explain it and they're going to drill down, which I think is phenomenal, because, you know, that one-to-one interaction. And I think, Dorian, I think it was you that said you graduated 19 people in your class. I did as well. And I tell everyone in life I graduated 19th in my class, and no one ever asked how many kids there were. So, you know, it makes me sound really, really smart. But with that 19 people, though, you really get to really, you know, to use a COVID word, you really get the granular answer. And so that's what I would say Waldorf affords me.
Yeah, I was at public school from kindergarten through 6th grade. And then all of a sudden I have Mr. Resnick, and I am showing up, he's shaking my hand, he's looking me in the eye. I have that connection to my teacher like I never had before. And then lo and behold, we get handwritten report cards, you know, talking about us in such detail. And I think my parents were just blown away at the individual attention we got. I was a class of 16, so I was 16th in my class, Josh. So I'm a little smarter than you, 16 of the 19. But my parents were just always amazed at how individual and how our teachers really knew us and could figure out ways in which to reach us and teach us better. That, trust me, coming from a different situation, I really saw the difference when I made that transition.
Thank you, everyone. At this time, I do think we have to wrap this portion of the event. So we'll just dismiss our participants besides our alumni and our 11th and 12th grade. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. At this time, we are going to, and if anyone has any questions that they didn't get to answer, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to connect you with any of our alums if they're willing, or be the in-between for any questions that weren't able to get to. So at this point, we're going to break into our breakout groups for the juniors and our seniors. So our alums are going to be split into 2 groups. Feel free to take a minute, alums. Ma'am Murray, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. You always are such a great moderator for this event. We truly appreciate it. So thank you.
Bye, all.
Everyone else